Hello.
Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
Wayne, so my father was many decades older than yourself, and he's now deceased.
I,
And
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. You're
so,
fading in and out on me.
okay, check 1, 2. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My father, who's now deceased, was several decades older than yourself. And a lot of what I had to explain to him were really generational differences in employment, education, and opportunities. So my father grew up in the aftermath of World War II, and any white man with a bachelor's degree from university had incredible opportunities at that time. My father became a university professor with only a bachelor's degree, only a BA. To me, that's totally impossible and is probably illegal. So for a guy from my father's generation, it's very hard to understand my employment and career problems. So I just say you're kind of halfway in between. I am overeducated. People look at my resume, they look at my CV, and they say, wow. And I've seen that many, many times, including university professors. I've had all kinds of people say, oh, wow, this is more impressive than my PhD students. There was one professor here who I was applying to just start a BA, to start at the lowest level. I was applying for the same position as if I were straight out of high school. And the professor read my CV and he responded to me, I'm sorry, I can't employ you here as a professor. Like he assumed I was applying to actually teach at the university. So the most fundamental misconception you have about me is that in Canada, we're talking about Canadian culture, Canadian economy, is that it is even an option for me to get a job at a grocery store, for me to get a job dealing cards at a casino, for me to get a job, a minimum wage job of any kind. And again, you may not know this about me, you may have forgotten this about me. I have applied for many, many minimum wage jobs. I have within the last 1 year, but I have over decades too, like a longer term in my life. So people in Canada will not employ me, for example, to work in a factory scale bakery. So this is not a small mom and pop shop. This is a factory scale bakery that says as a warning, the majority of our employees speak Chinese as a first language and can barely communicate in English. So that's the kind of factory we're talking about. And here I am applying saying, hey, look, I'm a university educated white guy. I can actually speak Chinese. I can read and write Chinese, and I'd enjoy that. That'd be great for me to work in this factory. Minimum wage job, factory labor. They will not give me a chance. They would rather employ a refugee from Afghanistan than me. Okay? They would rather employ a newly arrived immigrant, whether a legal immigrant from the Philippines or an illegal immigrant from Mexico, Nicaragua. I am not, in a simple sense, blaming illegal immigration or multiculturalism. Not in a simple sense, but it is one important part of the way in which the world has changed. You know, my father was an idiot. He had nothing but a bachelor's degree in philosophy from a third-rate university. I guarantee you haven't heard of his university. It's a university in Hamilton, Ontario. Hamilton, Ontario is a steel town. It's not famous for its university. It's not famous for anything other than steel. You know, that's who my father was. He went away to Europe and taught himself a very low level of French. I mean, his ability to speak French is almost minimal. He comes back to Canada. He's swept into employment. He's a museum curator on the east coast of Canada in Halifax, I recall. He works for the federal government in a series of positions that require fluency in French. I guarantee you, he spoke about as much French as Melissa does now. Really. Like, he spoke very, very little French. Nothing but a BA. He's teaching classes at a university in Montreal, you know, isolated short-term classes. And he's publishing books. He published all kinds of books. Okay? So whatever, I don't want to put a specific date on it. Maybe that was how the world was in 1955, 1965, 1975. And there is an element of racism. I mean, I remember my own grandmother, who's also dead now. I remember her just talking to me about what it was like to be a white person in Canada. About white privilege, people would now say. All right? The world has changed. And I am aware that the majority of people in this culture hate me. When you tell me that I could apply for a job dealing cards at a blackjack table in Windsor, you know, I'm morally opposed to gambling. I've never gambled once in my life. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't, you know, none of the Las Vegas type stuff do I do except stand-up comedy. All right? The people interviewing me for that job, they hate me. They don't look at my resume and positively value anything there. Okay? A very small number of highly educated people look at my resume and say, wow, you did research into corruption in the healthcare system in Cambodia? Wow, you taught yourself Laotian? You published peer-reviewed articles about this ancient language, and at the same time you were doing modern politics? Wow, this is impressive. It is impressive for someone who can appreciate it. And I have unique potential to make a difference in the world under a number of headings. But I'm not a delusional egomaniac. I know when I walk into those job interviews for minimum wage jobs, I know how much those people hate me. Okay? They will not hire me to be a bartender. They will hire a pretty teenage girl with shit for brains. Failing that, I mean, I'm just being honest with you, I think it's very hard to get a job as a bartender as a man, no matter how handsome you are as a man. But they will hire the type of guy who likes to hang around in bars and talk about sports. They will, again, the casino will hire someone who likes gambling. They will hire that type of guy. And I say, even a factory, even a bakery. I've also applied here for a baking position just in a local grocery store. None of those positions will ever give me a chance because I'm overeducated. They want a high school dropout. They will rather hire someone who's just been released from prison than me. Okay? That is the situation I'm in. And I'm completely open to the extent to which I'm a bad person. As a result, I don't care if you perceive me as a bad person. I'll tell you two things about me. I'm born rich and I'm fucking brilliant. That's better than being poor and stupid. So I can't really sit here and weep my eyes out to you saying, I sure wish I could get a minimum wage job like the poor, stupid people. My problem in life has never been that I wasn't smart enough to do anything. Every single field I've been involved in, I distinguish myself for extraordinary brilliance and talent immediately, even compared to other people that have already been in the field for 10 years. That's my experience. I've been all over the world in all kinds of work. And guess what? It turns out, apparently, I'm born into a wealthy enough family, it's not my choice, that I don't have to work. My mother has said to me, I never have to work another day in my life. The truth is, I'm such an eccentric character. I have continued volunteering for minimum wage jobs. Sometimes out of humanitarian interest. Sometimes out of just trying to make the world a better place. And sometimes just out of a desire to earn my own money. So I think Melissa mentioned this to you. I applied for a minimum wage job changing the bed sheets in a hospital during coronavirus lockdown. That was the beginning of coronavirus. Well, guess what? They'd rather hire someone who can't speak English from the Philippines to change the beds on hospital sheets. They don't want to hire me. And I'm able to say, like, if they gave me an interview, look, I've done humanitarian work in Laos and Cambodia. For me, this is something similar. I want to come to your hospital and do this minimum wage, very humble job. That wasn't the only job I applied for at the hospital. They had another job, which is more like being a security guard, where you sometimes have to kick people out of the hospital, probably drug addicts. But they had positions like that, which in polite language said you're kind of like a bouncer for the hospital, and you would sometimes help move heavy people in beds, do some other work like that in the main floor of the hospital. I applied for jobs like that, which from my perspective are humanitarian volunteerism. I didn't need the money. Okay? I don't stand a chance. And the truth is, even when I'm meeting professors from Oxford University, from Cambridge University, they tell me straight to my face, I'm too smart and I'm already too advanced. They only want to work with teenagers who have shit for brains. That's not my interpretation. University professors at elite levels of elite universities tell me that directly. They're like, look, we have nothing for you. Our program isn't for people like you. It's for teenagers with shit for brains who, are on page 1 of Teach Yourself, whatever the book is. So that's my situation in life. So again, I can feel sorry for myself. I can bemoan the disadvantages of it. Guess what? I get to wake up every day as a handsome genius who's born rich. I wasn't raised rich. I grew up poor. After I finished university, my parents either got rich or revealed the extent to which they secretly had been rich all along. I grew up, you can even tell from the way I talk, I didn't grow up rich. I really didn't. I didn't have any of the advantages of growing up rich, but my parents tell me I've got the advantage now. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to pretend I'm desperate for a dead-end minimum wage job when I'm not? And I am living in a culture, in a social context where I can't get those jobs anyway. At the start of the war with ISIS, I applied to join the army and fight against ISIS. I thought that war would go on for 10 years. It didn't. It went on for like 1 year. It really didn't last that long. I signed up to fight ISIS. Just genuine public spiritedness. I think I'm tough enough, whatever you want to say. I got in line with everyone else. I did the intelligence test to join the army. I did all that paperwork. I went through that process. I am a very unusual character. There's all kinds of work I'm willing to do. And the actual humanitarian work I did in places like Laos and Cambodia, yeah, on the one hand, I was hitting the books, I was hitting the library, I was doing scholarly work. But on the other hand, I was getting my hands dirty. I was exposing myself to danger and inconvenience of all kinds. Frankly, dealing with the mosquitoes is probably more dangerous than being attacked by bandits and robbers and wild dogs. But I dealt with all of it. That is the kind of guy I am. I am someone who's eager for work. But this is the reality situation I'm in. So look, the first thing you said to Melissa, I totally get your sincerity. And I don't blame you. You said straight up, quote, I don't care what Eisel does, close quote. Okay, fine. But then you're not qualified to have an opinion. You've had 7 years to get to know me. You've had 7 years to care. And you never did care. And you made it very clear you're not going to start now. So guess what that means? You don't get to have an opinion. And when you do have an opinion, we sit here and laugh at it. We laugh and laugh. Oh, guess what Wayne said? Wayne said that Eisel should become a card shark. He said that Eisel should deal blackjack at the fucking Windsor Casino. That's a hilarious suggestion. It's so out of touch with reality. It's so out of touch with what we've been dealing with in the last 1 year, the last 7 years. So we laugh and laugh. It doesn't hurt our feelings. I don't care. I don't need you to respect me. I don't need you to understand what I'm going through. But yeah, you don't care. As you keep saying, you don't care about me. You don't care about what makes me special, what my advantages and disadvantages are in life. You never have cared. In 7 years, you've learned nothing about me. So that's where we're at today. And you want to front like you know what the fuck's going on. Like your advice is worth a goddamn thing. Well, it's not, Wayne. You painted yourself into this corner. And now you're stuck with it.